We are back with Big Thursday Night Modern at Magic Corner Vienna. My name is Michael and I'm here with my colleague Walter.
Hey!
Well, on the left we have Martin playing green-red Tron, and on the right we have Walter.
We have Christos on ABZAN Midrange.
Oh, nice. What do you think about this deck, or what does this deck do?
So yeah, we have Christos here. ABZAN Midrange has some variations. Christos is on a build with 0 copies of Dark Confident, but 4 copies of Grimflayer. In opposition to what some players do with these decks, he's not playing any artifacts like Nile, Spellbomb or Mishra's Bauble. He also has the usual black-green core with Tarmogoyf's Liliana of the Whales and so on. Thoughts is his Inquisitions. He has 3 copies of Siege Rhino, 1 copy of Liliana, the Last Hope. And basically, that's what he's got in his main deck. His matchup against Tron, like any mid-range deck, is not something you're happy with. His build here, I feel, with the Grimflayers, has a bit of a better shot because he can get in some early aggression.
Nice. Well, and green-red Tron, it's a basic list with Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant, Urza's Mine, the Tron lands which are basic, Sylvan's Scrying to get the lands, Ancient Stern to get lands or creatures, Expedition Map, Chromatic Stir, and so on. Of course, Mass Removal in the main Oblivion Stone, the 4th Khan Liberated, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, another Mass Removal or a Great Finisher, Wormcoil Engine to get some life for to kill opponent's creatures, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger to destroy your opponent's library, and one thing which is nice in this deck, he's playing Kozilek, the Great Distortion. Do you know what Kozilek the Great Distortion does?
Yeah, sure. Kozilek is like it's been overshadowed by Ulamog, like the big 2 new big Eldrazi from the battle block. So Kozilek is 8 and 2 colorless, and it's a huge creature. I think it's 12 if it's got manas, and what it does is when you cast it, you get to draw cards up to 7. So if you have less than 7 cards, you get to draw up to 7, and then you can discard a card to counter a spell of the same converted mana cost. And now we see how these cards fare in practice, because the players are already starting here.
I'm already waiting for the game to be started. Both players have drawn their 7 starting hands. I think both players are keeping their 7 hands.
And with Christos in the play here, leading with the Windswept Heath and passing the turn.
Well, what will Martin do on his turn? I see a Tron land in hand, he's going to play it, and with an Expedition Map.
Oh, turn 3 Tron to the ready. Can you see if he's got another Tron land in hand? So
yes, I think he has another Tron land in hand, but as usual, I cannot tell which one.
Okay, sure.
I think it's a tower.
That's awesome, because what's in play is definitely not the tower, so the Expedition Map will allow him to search up the 2nd piece, while at the end of Martin's turn, Chris is going to fetch up a Godless Shrine, a copy of tapped Godless Shrine here. What he really needs to do is get some pressure going. He needs to have a 2-drop, either Goyf or Grimflayer, otherwise he will already be behind. I mean, if there's turn 3 Tron, that's bad anyways.
Yes, of course. This is really not a great matchup for ABZAN, I think. But we do see a turn 2 Tarmogoyf here, currently is a 1-2. Martin is drawing a card. I think he actually has the same Tron land in hand. We'll see which one he's going to play and if he's going to search up for his 3rd Tron land right now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing here is if Christos had to turn 1 discard spell to get rid of this Expedition Map, his start might actually be really good here, but without that, we see Martin not playing a Tron land here. So no turn 3 Tron.
No turn 3 Tron, so most likely he had the same Tron land as he has simply in his hand, so he's going for Sylvan's Scrying, which costs 1 generic and 1 green, which he plays with Growth of the Burn Willows.
Getting Christos back up to 20 life? Yeah.
Yes, but this is basically not really that important.
No, Growth is amazing, you don't care. It's very, 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 very unlikely that you win on a 1 life margin as Tron against the mid-range deck. Or any deck for that matter.
So now, of course, we did not see which land he fetched out, but he has Expedition Map in play, so it doesn't.
He definitely has a tower in hand, so I assume he fetched that out, because otherwise he would have just played it, so he fetched out that tower. Here we see the 1-off Concealed Courtyard and the Liliana of the Vale, which is also... Christos is giving Martin a fight here, because those are some of the cards that matter. Liliana is great, because the Tron player needs all the resources, he needs his lands and his spells, and also Liliana allows the Goyf to grow big quickly, because he can discard a card of a card type. Here we see him discard another land, but we see an artifact discarded by Martin, meaning the Goyf is already 3-4 at this point.
Yes, you're right. But as I can see it, Liliana has only 1 more activation till Tron is on land, so I'm not quite sure how much it will matter.
Sure, I still like it because it makes it harder for him to keep the Tron pieces and enough payoff cards. And maybe if you can deal with one payoff card then and make him discard some other payoff cards or waste like cantrippings. Here we have the Chromatic Star being discarded. These cards can just cantrip you into more threats. Tron deck is relatively threat light. You need to have this velocity of cantripping through your deck to hit your threats. The Tron deck can sometimes just flat out.
So I think I just saw Ulamog the Ceaseless Hanger in Martin's hand, and I think, or how many Thoughtseize does Christoph play?
He's only playing 2. He's playing the 4-2 split here, 4 Inquisition, 2 Thougeize, which is great against the more aggressive decks, but it's a huge liability against Tron because Inquisition is a lot worse. It can't take any of the big threats. So here we see the Inquisition being cast, and I'm sure Christos would hope it would be a copy of Thoughtseize, but then if you play it against Burn, it would be the exact opposite. And here we see the Conduit of Ruin. We see, this is actually the Kozilek.
Yes, we talked about.
Yeah, and we see a Sanctum of Ugin, and we see another copy of the Mine.
Doesn't look really good for
Might be the
Crystal
power
right here.
plant, yeah. So
Yes,
we're looking at a turn 5. We're looking at the possibility of turn 5 Kozilek here.
Yes, of course. And this Kozilek will draw him a lot of cards and counter his opponent's spells, so Martin can survive till then.
But the thing is, if Martin was to play the Conduit here, Liliana's got it covered. You can't really play the Conduit. You can play it, sure, you can tutor up a big creature on top and play that next turn. It's still nice, but you're not going to get a discount on the Kozilek because your Conduit is just getting edicted by Liliana's -2 ability.
No, not really, but Tron produces 7 lands.
Yeah, you can just tutor up.
Yes, he can just tutor up Ulamog the Ceaseless Hanger and play it the turn afterwards.
Play the
which
turn
will cause
afterwards.
the cast trigger, which will allow him to exile 2 of his opponent's permanents, which will be great at this situation.
Exactly. Christos might have access to Path to Exile to get rid of the Ulamog, but then he would have... his Liliana and his Goyf would probably gone here.
Yes.
So he could rebuild from that, but it would still be a huge blowback. But it's telling for his start being on the play, having a good start right now, that at least there's a possibility of even coming back from that Ulamog, which often there is not.
Well, there's a possibility for Christor, but I'm not quite sure how it will work. But because maybe Martin has another threat after Ulamog the Ceaseless Hanger, we will see how this plays out.
But we'll see. Martin tutored up the Mine. What he had here was a power plant, so he tutored up the Mine. So he has Tron now, access to 8 mana. Let's see if he has to go for the Conduit. Yeah, he's going for the Conduit here. He did not draw a better play.
So we will see what he will fetch out. I think it will be most likely Ulamog the Ceaseless Hanger.
It has to be converted. Mana costs 7 or more. So he can't even go for the Wormkill engine. But there's not really a need to, because he's got another copy of the power plant in hand. So it gives him access to exactly 10 mana next turn.
Yes, which will be insane.
Yeah, definitely. So all that Christos can do here is try to get some additional threats on the board, but he did play a threat last turn, so it's very unlikely that he has access to additional threats, because you can't really play around Oblivion Stone or something as ABZAN. You just have to hope they don't have it, and you slam and push as hard as possible.
You're right there. Well, we'll see what he will do. Maybe playing another discard spell.
If he drew a Thoughtseize, that would not get rid of the Ulamog on top of his opponent's deck. So
No,
that's
not really,
doing
but
too
maybe
much.
he could play Thoughtseize, Inquisition, taking up Liliana, go.
Sure, but he had to take down Liliana because he needed to get rid of the Conduit, because otherwise he knew he would face Kozilek, which might be even worse. And now...
yeah, you're right.
Now he
Forgot
has
about
the Thoughtseize, but actually... Conduit of Ruin tutoring to the top of the deck is a liability normally, but this time it was an advantage because we're safe with discard spells. But we see the Goyf growing to a large size now. We've got instant sorcery, lands, artifacts, and creatures in the graveyard, so it's a 5/6 already. And now Ulamog taking out the opponents.
Yes, Ulamog is taking out the opponents, but it is also Martin's last threat, so if Christor has Path to Exile, which he sadly doesn't have, this game will be over soon, but he has Liliana.
Liliana is better than Path to Exile here.
far
Liliana is
better.
the way better answer. He had a second copy of Liliana. Martin has to sack the Ulamog, and now he has all the mana, but he needs to draw threats.
But he drew something to cycle it.
Yeah, and he already still had a Cycler in his hand from the turn before. And also Christos down to 1 card, but he just has to keep cycling here. Hasn't drawn into a real card yet.
No, not really, but I think it's a Sylvan Scrying and the Relic of Progenitors.
Yeah, and we see the Scrying being cast here. Probably going for another tower, because why not? You're not doing anything else, might just as well tutor out the lands that generate the most mana in your deck.
Yes.
And also the relic here is still cycling, and it also really keeps you safe from any further Tarmogoyfs, because they will initially be 0/0s at the point that relic is being cracked.
Does Krista play any Eternal Witnesses in his deck list?
He doesn't, no. Normally ABZAN doesn't play it. Sometimes the black-green rock decks play it, but they have mostly shifted over to Tyler's Tracker too, because Tyler's Tracker presents card advantage with pressure, and also a long-term card advantage that Witness can't too.
No. So we'll see what Krista has drawn for his turn. He's tapping 2 mana. Might this be a Grimflayer? Yes,
this is a copy of Grimflayer, which doesn't have Delirium right now, and it's not going to achieve Delirium pretty easily in the face of the relic, but he can get those triggers and he can stack the top of his library and make sure that his following draws are good. So this is nice. If Martin doesn't find something soon, then he might be able to find more threats with the Grimflayer, but now we see Martin just activating the relic, prompting Christos to exile a card of his choice out of his graveyard at the end of his turn before untapping.
So he's activating it again. Another card is being removed from the graveyard.
Yeah, this is the way to play Relic. Lots of players don't do it. You should always give your opponent the least choices. You play it as soon as you can. And Martin is doing this exactly the textbook way.
Yeah, because he's now proof of Liliana of the Whale. So we will see what Krista will draw and how this game advances. Krista is currently fetching with a Verdant Catacomb.
Yeah, he's probably just getting he needs to get another green source. He has got 2 copies of Scavenging Ooze in his list, which are quite hungry for green mana. And there are still some creatures in Martin's graveyard here that he can eat for 1+1/+1 counters.
This is true. I think right now we will see. Do we see a tick up before anything?
It depends what he drew. If he drew a card that he can't cast, it's Path to Exile. It's a promo Path to Exile, the FNM one, I think.
Yeah.
He discards this now because he just wants to tick up the Liliana. I'm not sure if this is the right play, but the thing is that Liliana's Edict is important against some of Martin's threats, like Ulamog and Kozilek, and obviously there's another one. And he's looking at a copy of Maelstrom Piracy, which is great. It is an answer to Ugin, Khan, and other things, so I would definitely leave that on top. And we have an Abrupt Decay, a WMCQ Abrupt Decay, I'm pretty sure that is. And I think the other card he left on top was another copy of Path to Exile, which is smart because he's ahead on board, and Path to Exile cleanly deals with Wormcoil Engine and some of the threats that Martin can present, while Maelstrom Piracy covers the other threats, so they're kind of complementary. It might still be nice to draw another threat yourself, but right now you have to balance.
Yes, right now you have to balance Protect Liliana of the Whale, because Wormcoil Engine would be devastating. Oh, Martin flips over some cards from his deck, shoves them back in.
I'm sure there was an Urzaland in there. What a surprise. And we have Christos gesturing towards the camera. I don't know. He's like, oh, my opponent's flipping cards. I'm sure this has happened to other people on camera before, so it's not like this is the first instance.
No, it's okay. It's fine. Can happen to everyone, especially if you have new sleeves.
Yeah, and also playing on a feature match is just something. Even if it's just the 25 people Magic on a Big Thursday Night Modern, it's a great tournament. It's not a cheapie, but it's still, you're playing on camera, it's a feature match.
Yes, you're kind of a little bit nervous, but that's okay. Perfectly fine to be nervous when you're playing Magic the Gathering.
And Martin still hasn't found anything. He's just passed back the turn, and now we see what Christos has here. He is still not up to Delirium, so Martin doesn't even... Martin will wait till it's Delirium, and then he will crack the Relic, because he's fine. He's on 4. His average draw is still a lot better than Christos's.
You're right on this side. Yes, we do see Abrupt Decay on top of his library.
There's another Abrupt Decay.
Or another Abrupt Decay? No, Maelstrom Pulse.
He milled the Abrupt Decay. The Maelstrom Pulse is still on top. I know he drew the Maelstrom Pulse, and he only has one, so we have the Path to Exile and an unknown card that we couldn't catch here. But yeah, Abrupt Decay is not what he wants right now.
Martin is again removing a card from his opponent's choice from his graveyard. We'll see what he will draw. He draws another Relic of Progenitus, so he's going to crack the first Relic.
Yeah, because now he's down to 4. Now he has to really try to hit something.
He has to. Oh, he had Khan Liberated, I think. Yes,
Khan's good, but Khan can only take out of one of these 2 threats, and then it will get Maelstrom Pirates, so Khan's nice. But it's still... You probably take out the Grimfray here because it actually kills you, but you still have to find a way to deal with that Liliana.
Maybe he's going to take out Liliana, I'm not quite sure. To keep the card he has in hand. No, he has
but
Relic
it's
of
just a
Progenitus.
relic. The thing is,
Well,
the Grimflare would get you down to 2, and now, he's putting it into the pile. I'm a fan of putting it under Khan, but Khan doesn't restart that often because it's just hard to re-engineer it. But another Grimflare and the piles. We knew about that piles, but the card he left on top. So the next card is the Path, but this card was another Grimflare, which was which was another card down from his last Grimflare trigger, and that's really nice. So he has the pressure back up, and he also gets to. Martin is like, I have no cards in hand. Christos is like, I'm still checking up my Liliana.
Nice. But Martin still has a few draw steps available till he will die to the Grimflare, because currently it's only a 2/2.
Yeah,
and
he's got
Liliana in
2
play
more
doesn't
cards.
do damage, so it's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, so Martin's
Red,
just cracking his red against him.
Oh, he's just telling his opponent that most strong boss is getting exiled, so he drew a card at his end step. Now he's going to draw his card for his turn. But we'll see. I think there was a second Ursa land and another Khan liberated. Nice.
So we repeat the same situation, but the
Yes.
thing is, Christos got a Liliana of the Veil counter out of it. And once Liliana of the Veil gets to 6, you can really destroy his mana base a bit. We have multiples of most Tron pieces, but you will still be able to wreck him for a few turns if you get your ultimate Liliana at least.
Yes, you are, but currently Christos has only buff to exile in his hand, which is currently really a dead card.
And the other Khan is just going to wreck him right now
Yes.
if he doesn't draw an answer. And there is no answer because only 1 copy of Medicine Pulse in his deck.
Ooh.
And he needed to have a threat this turn. And the Liliana's up to 5 right now.
Mm-hmm. And
if it were at 6, it would... Yeah, Martin is not
Yes,
risking
he
anything.
hit another
He
one.
drew another Khan.
Devastating play from Martin's side.
And now
Perfect
he's
top
just
deck.
gonna tick it up. I think
Yes.
this game is over at this point. Christos gave it a good fight, but now he has got a Khan at 10 with no answers to it. Lingering Souls is actually pretty nice. He gets to flash it back. So if Martin keeps bricking, this might do something here actually.
Yes, of course, because if he activates Khan liberated next turn, he will destroy only 1 token, facing 3 damage to the face, going down to 1 life.
The thing is, Khan can just tick up, and the Souls deal 4 damage to Khan, while Khan ticks up for 4.
Yeah.
So this is something, but he's still going to take
No,
out.
he's not going to attack Khan, he's going to attack, of course, Martin.
Of course, he's going to attack his face.
He's
at
on
4,
four
I'm
life,
sorry,
yeah.
but Martin found the Ulamog here.
Yes, Martin is now pretty safe from anything.
And he's going to get rid of 2 more spirits because he doesn't want to die.
no.
So that Souls was a great top deck, even against Khan, but the Ulamog the next turn is very
Made
likely
it
to
obsolete.
actually seal the deal right
Yes.
now, yeah. It kind of obsoleted this Souls because, yeah.
So Martin
Only 1
is
spirit
most likely going down to 3 life. Yes, he is. And do we now see a lightning helix? No.
There is a single copy of Collective Brutality in his deck though,
Ooh,
which is
great.
not Lightning Helix, but if he somehow gets in another spirit attack, which is not because Martin is smartly taking
Yes.
that out, he would be able to actually kill with that Collective Brutality.
So Christos is pointing at Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger and scoops it up.
Yeah, I had it once in Legacy actually, where my opponent had Ulamog on Big Eldrazi and I was playing Reanimator, and I had that Collective Brutality top deck to kill him because he was at 2 life, but then I didn't hit it. No, my opponent played Thought-Knot. Something happened, but this is actually reasonable. While it's not Lightning Helix, Collective Brutality is a card that can win these game states out of nowhere, where you've
Yes,
got nothing on
because
board.
with one of the modes you can train your opponent for 2 lives.
Exactly.
So we are going to sideboarding. Let's start with Martin, I would say.
Yeah, what is
Red
Martin bringing to the table here in terms of sideboarding? I mean, the matchup is already great for him, but can he improve
Yes.
even further post-board?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but maybe he could board in some Fractus. Yes, Fractus would be perfect for this matchup to get him some life and block his opponent's threats while he's building up mana to play his Eldrazi spells. And another thing would be maybe he's going to sideboard in some of his free Nature's Claim, because he's afraid of Stony Silence, which will disrupt all his artifact abilities.
Yeah, so that's reasonable. That's like the reactive sideboarding. And for the proactive sideboarding, I'm a big fan of Thractus because it's a mid-range threat, costs 5 mana, bridges the gap from having nothing on the board to having a huge stuff on the board. Maybe you're playing against Stony Silence, maybe you're getting some of your lands killed. So it's a reasonable thing. Thractus is 5/3 for 5, gives you 5 life when it enters the battlefield, gives you 3/3 beast token when it dies. We see Martin taking out the Kozilek and the Oblivion Stones here.
Okay, quite
And he's
interesting
going to
sideboard.
bring in Pyroclasms and Nature's Claim. So what Martin is
because of-
doing here
yeah.
is he's actually valuing Lingering Souls a lot. And this brings me back to Christos' sideboarding here, because Martin is scared of Lingering Swords. If I were Christos, Lingering Swords would not be in my deck post-board against Tron, I think, because it's a very slow card. Tron can go over the top of it easily with Ugin. The card gets invalidated usually by Ugin. If I were Christos, in his side, but he's got access to what you mentioned, Michi, 3 Stony Silences,
nice.
which are very good because they turn off all the cantripping artifacts. They also turn off the Oblivion Stones. So Martin might have also taken the Oblivion Stones, at least partially because he's scared of Stony Silences that shut them down.
Might be possible, yes.
And so that's kind of nice. And they also shut off the expedition maps and so on, the relics, nearly everything. Then he's got 2 copies of Fulminator Mage, which are obviously great. They kill lands. We've got another Maelstrom Pulse, so that makes, we saw it before, it was great taking out Khan. So it's a unique answer. And if he has space, he might also bring Kitchen Things because they are a threat and they survive Sweeper effects and remover. In his main deck, besides those Lingering Swords that he might not need, he's also got 2 Scavenging Oozes, which are kind of weak threats in his matchup because they just choose their bears and not a lot of creatures tend to get into the graveyard. Liliana the Last Hope is basically a blank unless you get back a Fulminator Mage. This makes it a very polarized card. It's either
So we will see actually sideboarding in. Okay, we did not see really.
We saw a lot of but here we see what he is taking out. He's taking out Grimflay. I really don't like it. I think Grimflay is one of his best cards in the matchup.
Why is this one of his best cards?
Because he needs 2 mana threats. He only has 4 Goyfs, and Grimflay is a lot more consistent because it always got 2 power at least, and it's really important that you get those triggers when you hit your opponent, because you still have cards in your deck that don't do a lot in some situation, lots of situational cards. Grimflayer lets you filter out the situational cards, lets you get rid of them, put them in your graveyard, gets you closer to Delirium or bigger Goyfs, while keeping the cards that are relevant in a certain situation on the top of your deck and drawing them. So I don't like this. If I were him, on the draw I don't like Abrupt Decays. I like them to play because they can take out Expedition Maps and O-Stones. Obviously Christos does not know that Martin took out those O-Stones. And yeah, like I said, Lingering Swords, I just feel it's way too anemic. 2 power for 3 mana in this matchup, I think, is not cutting it.
So the second game is starting right now. Both players are drawing their first 7 cards, and we'll see if each of these 2 players will keep their hands.
Yeah, if Christos can do something more. He fought a good fight last game of the mid-range deck against the Tron deck. He gave it a go, but like most people who fight this fight, he lost.
Yes.
So we see him keeping, and he's pondering. This is a Blooming Marsh. He's got it's an Overgrown Tomb. He's going to shock himself, and it's probably a discard spell. A Thoughtseize
is pretty nice here. We'll take out Can't Liberated, I guess.
Only 2 copies, but they are 2 different Tron lands. We got the Power Plant and the Tower. So we got some cards. We got the Star here. The Star can make green mana for this Scrying. Scrying can make the 3rd Tron piece. So taking either of those is an option if you want to cut him off the mana. Stirrings can hit random lands on top or other threats. And then we have 2 big payoff cards. So what are you considering here? Do you want to cut him on the mana or on the threats? Because you need to choose one.
It depends on the cards Christos has in hand, because if he has more disruptive spells in hand, he will get on his big creatures, or maybe if he has more land destruction, he will try to get Sylvan Scrying or Ancient Stirring.
Yeah, and here he took the 1 threat that matters a lot, but the thing is that Conduit, once the mana is set up, even if Conduit dies immediately, it still gets you a big threat the next turn, so we see what happens. Tower into Star and a pass.
Yes. So Christos drew Path to Exile here, playing his 2nd land. And playing a Tamar. No, it's a Grimflare.
Hey, one of those 2 copies he didn't side up. And we'll see if the Grimflare is as good as I hope for in practice. But I still think like the matchup sucks for him. It's still one of the best cards he can have.
So Sylvan Scrying into turn 3 Tron.
Isn't Magic fun, Michi?
No, it's not.
It's so fun.
Well, Tron is basically
it's
kind
fun.
of a combo deck.
It's fun for one of them. I'm sure Martin is having fun. He likes to assemble turn 3 Tron.
Yes.
He likes to can people, but that at least got avoided by Christos for at least 1 turn. Maybe he's going to draw another Khan. We see what happens.
Yeah, well, maybe we see a Fulminator Mage, which would be great in this situation.
This is possible. This is possible. But even the Stony Silence, which is a rather disruptive sideboard card, is not doing anything here.
No,
and he's only got 2 Fulmins in his sideboard. No. But we see he's fetching, so we probably see 3 mana being spent. Maybe it's on Fulminator Mage.
Yeah, hopefully it's Reflector Mage, because this would be the only great card here in this situation.
I hope it's not Refractor Mage, because otherwise we would have to...
Fulminator
Okay, have a disqualification, because Refractor Mage is not not even castable out of his mana base, and it's not on his deck list because his deck list is in front of me.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sorry. 5-color human is still on my mind.
So much 5-color humans.
So
yeah, we
first
see a
is
swing and a trigger. I always like watching those triggers because I like those strategic decisions. He brought in Surgical Extraction with the Fulminators. It's nice, but he's only got 2 Fulmis, and otherwise it doesn't do anything. He might just go for the greed play of just extracting Kani and maybe hoping that Martin drew another one. If he were to do it, he should definitely do it on Martin's draw step because it gave him another option. But like I said, here, if I don't have Fulminator Mage, I would just get rid of the Surgical, but he's leaving it on top because we see the Fulminator Mage.
Nice.
So he's got it. He has Surgical next turn. So Martin is never Troning again in this game.
Nope. Never.
Unless he has Warping Whale next turn, which he didn't side in, so he can't have it.
No.
But he's never Troning again. Or he can't Warping Whale because Surgical is an instant, so he can't do anything about it.
Devastating move from Christo's side.
And now it's just like, oh,
Yes.
my tower got killed, but the next turn will be the bad
Yeah,
one.
it's
Now
okay.
he's casting Stirrings, which is
sure.
nice. And he's still in the game here. Martin has not lost this game yet.
Yeah, okay, he's casting Ancient Stirreds, revealing the, looking at the top 5 cards of his library and taking one colorless card and put it into his hand. Maybe he needs to take another land card, but I'm not quite sure. Okay, he's going to take Ugin here.
Yeah.
Yes, another great Planeswalker, Mass Removal, Lightning Bolt to the face. And what does his last ability do? Drawing cards.
It's the opposite of Necrobolus. You draw 7 cards, put 7 permanents out of your hand into play, and something else with 7. It's very game-winning most.
So we do see Surgical Extraction.
But here,
on
Christos, I think a slight mess up. I think you should still wait for the draw step, because if he draws another tower here, you just eat a free card out of hand.
Would be more card advantage.
And there is actually no downside you can have in the Tron deck here. There is
no.
Warping Whale, but it only counters sorceries, and there is no other way he can really punish you for this play.
True that, true that.
But again, it's still nice to get rid of all those towers.
Yes. Because the only card which would counter 1 mana spells would be Mental Misstep, and this card is not legal in Modern.
Yeah, I'm very glad it's not legal in Modern. It probably would not make for a lot of fun Magic.
No, not
so
really.
yeah, no missteps here.
Also a reason why they banned Gitaxian Probe, because for X and mana is kind of a little bit unfair, but I think Surgical Extraction is still fine, because you also...
Surgical is fine. Surgical is good against some things, but it's still a super limited effect. It's a very, very limited effect. It's great situationally, but I like those cards. Gitaxian Probe in the decks that want it is always great.
Of course.
And obviously Mental Misstep is great in any deck.
Yeah, because you're just playing 56 cards, which is perfectly nice. Storm would love it.
I like it not more. I don't like this 56 card explanation. I don't think that's the reason at all. The thing is that what you do is you just get an effect. You don't just get free cards. In Storm, you get huge effects. You get huge effects with Young Pyromans. You get huge effects in decks like Infect. So it's just like you get a free effect. And the effect is big enough.
You're right there. So, 2 lands in play for Martin. He's going to be attacked with Crimflayer. Crimflayer will no Delirium or?
No Delirium yet.
No, not Delirium yet.
But what I like here is with Fetchland, he can actually, if he wants to, he can reshuffle at some point if he doesn't like one of the draw cards. So you put 2 cards on top. The second card down from the top is the one card that you might want, but you're not sure you want. So you draw the top card, and then you can reevaluate and crack the fetch if you don't like the second card, and not crack the fetch if you like the card. Kind of with the interaction that 5-card and Traverse Shadow decks have with Mishra's Bauber and Fetchlands. So that's nice. Christos can utilize some additional advantage here. And those are the small plays, the small percentage plays that make Modern interesting and make you succeed in Modern.
Yeah, you're right. So Martin currently has 3 lands in play, 4th land in hand.
So we see Christos probably decided either he missed his scry, or he decided that he doesn't like any of the cards that he just left on top. One of those two reasons. But the thing is, you just leave some cards on top if you can fetch anyways. There's no point milling them all, really.
No.
If you might need them in some situation.
Yeah, you might mill not necessary cards if you just want to get on Delirium. And afterwards shuffle away the rest.
Sure, you can do that if you need the cards. But if you have a situational card that you might need, then you just leave it on top.
Yes, of course.
And here we see more lands being milled. The one of Vault of the Archangel. I love this card, but it's not good in this matchup. It's a land from Dark Ascension, and you can tap it for 2 colorless, 1 white and 1 black, gives all your creatures Death Touch and Lifelink. Now we see Fulminator Mage.
No, we do not see Fulminator Mage, but we see Liliana the Last Hope.
Yeah, but why is it not rebuying Fulminator Mage?
I'm not quite sure, because maybe he has time till next turn. He can do it whenever he wants.
Sure, he
Yeah.
can, but you could get your... You
Maybe-
can't
no,
get
maybe-
your Liliana count. There is no good answer. Yeah.
Look, he just, I think, will do lands, left one card on top. Maybe he just wants to draw this card because if you do the -2 ability, with
Sure, you
Liliana,
will
have
mill
to
the
mill
card.
two cards.
And you
two
can
cards.
just do it next turn anyways, yeah. And then you can get the Fulmi back and you can destroy another land and set back Martin's mana development even further.
You're right. Martin is currently on 10 life. Christor, without being attacked from Martin, is already on 11 life. But Martin has 4 lands in play, a 5th land in hand, and 6 mana Wormcoil Engine.
I really think that he will not start his next turn with those lands in play. We see. If I were Christos, I would really minus this Liliana and get back this Fulmi, but he's not doing that.
No, he's not doing that. He's casting Lingering Souls.
He's flashing it back. Yeah, he milled the Lingering Souls with the Grimfray, so he's getting some nice value.
And Martin scoops it up. I would not have scooped it up here, would you?
No, because I don't like... I would have waited one more turn.
Yeah, because he could have drawn Pyroclasm from his deck.
Exactly, if he drew Pyroclasm, he would have got rid... Even if there was Delirium now, which I think there was, because that was why he probably scooped, because Christos had lethal on the board.
Okay.
He still could have somehow drawn Pyroclasm into another land, into Wormcoil Engine. So, while his chances are low, just waiting another turn really doesn't hurt. Those are the situations. If you scoop up those situations, you might in the end have that 1 out of 100 games that you would have still won by just waiting one more turn. So I just recommend waiting the one turn.
Sometimes you just don't have to wait because you know already the situation is over. But the situation, as I saw it, was a little bit open. It was not favored in Martin's way, but also not that bad. But
Martin was super far behind. He was close to dying, but he still could have drawn something the next draw.
Yes, he could have drawn something like Pyroclasm or maybe another good card. But he didn't board in Fractus. This would have been a great card in this situation.
Exactly, but
getting in 5 life or
5 life.
Yes, 5 life and another blocker after Fractus dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, 3/3 blocker.
A 3/3 green beast token. Yes.
Yeah, a green beast token. Okay.
And now we see neither player is re-evaluating their sideboard choices, which I don't like from Christos' side, especially because I think with the mid-range against Tron deck, there are some distinct play-draw differences that you should take into account. For example, the Abrupt Decay I mentioned. Abrupt Decay really like on the play because you can get rid of those expedition maps sometimes. But we see.
So Martin on the play here is playing a Chromatic Sphere first turn. Sphere?
This is the sphere.
Yeah, this is the sphere. Perfect.
Round swing is the sphere. The spiky thing is the star.
Oh, thank you. You're so good at explaining stuff to me.
Yeah, now, oh my god, just one land here on Martin's side, but a lot of cantrippy action. 2 copies of Relic, an Expedition map, a Nature's Claim, and the Wormcoil Engine. And he already has that sphere in hand, so we get Expedition map taken. So Martin needs to just make sure to hit land drops here, but he has the cantrips to help him with that. And
yes,
the payoff in Wormcoil is there.
Big turn for Martin here. Is he going to draw a second land? Oh, I did not see if it was a second land.
It probably wasn't, so he's cracking here, and it's not land either, so he has 1 mana floating, and he can just drop another sphere here and pass the turn, I think. That's all he has to do.
Yes, and he's just simply doing that. So Christor's turn right now. I think he drew Lingering Souls.
No, he drew Stony Silence. Stony Silence. Which, if he can land it now, is brutal. It shuts off this import. It kills Martin's hand here, but he has a tapped White Source. He has a tapped White Source. And if Martin draws a land here, he can make some headway and make this Stony Silence a lot less good than it would have been.
Ancient Stirring, so he's going to get a land for sure. Oh, okay, 2 lands on top.
Yes, both of his relics still will be turned off. But if Christos had the untapped White Source here with any sort of pressure after, it might have just been game. But now, Martin has 2 lands in play already. He's just a mine away from Tron here.
Yes, he's just a mine away from Tron here with Relic of Progenitors in play.
Yeah, Relic of Progenitors might get shut off.
But in response, it will get activated once, I think.
Sure, getting rid of that Inquisition, of course, like in the
which
graveyard.
is really important.
It doesn't do nothing. It's like 1 closer to Delirium. It's 1 more drive activation, but it's not like it doesn't matter hugely.
So currently, if we're going to see Damokov, would be a 2/3, I would guess.
Yeah, but you have to play the Stony.
Yeah, of course you have
with
to
the
play
Relic
Stony
in board,
Silence.
you play the Stony Silence. You just hope you don't get Tron here immediately.
So what did Martin draw here? Did he draw a land? No, I cannot really see any. Yes. Yeah, he drew.
And he's Wormcoil here, but
Engine.
he has I saw Path to Exile here in Christos' hand, so this Wormcoil Engine.
But you know what? If he has Path to Exile in his hand, this will get Martin a green source, so he could play Nature's Claim.
Sure.
which will
Ooh.
destroy Stony Silence, and his artifacts would be back up.
Sure, this is a great thing. He's getting a tapped forest here, so Christos has one turn to make that happen. So I really don't like pathing the Wormcoil Engine here. He should path it the following turn, so that there is one more turn where you have those artifacts on the locker.
Yes,
I
of course,
think this was too hasty from Christos here. If he had waited until Martin's next attack step or his upkeep. His upkeep probably, because he saw that Nature's Claim, because otherwise the Nature's Claim can be also used to kill the Wormcoil Engine in response to the Path to Exile, getting the 2 tokens out of the deal. So I think this was not perfect here, but we see the Fulminator Mage here, which
nice here. Is going to
is
destroy.
very nice. Destroying the tower here?
Yes.
You generally should never destroy the tower, because
Why
the
not?
tower, when you search back up the tower as you remain in Tron, you get 3 mana immediately. If the last remaining Tron you search back up, you use it, you get 2 mana, because you have to use the other Tron lands to pay for the search spells, and then the one you have. So destroying the tower actually just means that your opponent has 1 mana more in 1 turn. It doesn't matter here, but if Martin had something cast for 3 mana, he could do it. If he searched up one of the other pieces instead, he would only have access to 2 mana this turn. So this is important to keep in mind against Tron with land destruction in general.
Yes. No with star destruction at first. But maybe you're going to destroy it if Martin has already played 2 or 3 of the...
Of course. This is just when the numbers are even. Obviously, if he has access to fear the Siege Rhino, it is not amazing against Tron, but at least it drains.
It is a threat. It is a threat.
It attacks,
yeah. It attacks, which is important in this matchup. But currently Martin has 8 mana available. With another Tron land, he will have 10 or even 11 mana available, which can be really devastating. But does he have another threat? Okay, he's playing Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah,
so
Ancient Stirrings
will for sure get another threat.
Not for sure. It's never for sure. But we see Ulamog
No, not really for sure. But 5 cards is really digging deep. And
yeah, Ancient Stirrings is amazing. Ancient Stirrings might as well be the best card in Tron that is not a Tron land, also in Lands. The card's just amazing.
It's really amazing.
See, Ponder is banned in Modern.
Ponder is banned in Modern?
Yeah.
Crazy.
This is a better Ponder in the decks that play it. Sees 2 cards deeper, you can't shuffle, digs 2 cards deeper, you get everything that matches. It's a better Ponder in cards that in decks that can play it. So yeah.
So Martin just cracked his Relic of Progenitus. Currently has 5 cards in hand, 4 cards in hand. Yes, he's going to tap 3 mana. Okay, he's playing another Relic of Progenitus while keeping his 3 or 4 cards in hand. I think it's, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we see he's going to get attack down to 13 here.
Yes.
So we see we have to... Christos has to hope that he can up the pressure. He also has access to his Stirring Wildwood, which is a 2 in his deck, which can turn into a 3-4 reach. But instead, he is putting some additional pressure on the board here with 2 Tarmogoyfs. So if there is no sweeper by Martin here, a lot of his other cards don't do a lot. Khan looks pretty horrible against this board of 4 attackers.
He has Relic of Progenitus in play, no cards in graveyards. So Tarmogoyfs are currently 0/1s. So it doesn't really matter.
Sure, but he's putting a card into the graveyard himself, so they're both 1/2s now.
So now we are going to see 6 mana, 10 mana. Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger is going to be played.
Ouch.
Maybe Cast Trigger targeting both Tarmogoyfs, or no, he doesn't even care about the Tarmogoyfs because his Relic of Progenitus in play.
Yeah,
he's just getting rid of a land and Siege.
I would definitely get rid of Stirring Wildwood before Temple Garden. I would, simply because it's the same, but it can turn into a creature at some point. But yeah, I totally agree with the 1 land and the Siege Rhino decision here. I would have just thought the other land would have been slightly better target.
But I think it doesn't really matter in this situation because Krista only has 2 0/1s in play, or 1/2s in play. Martin has Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
Yeah, okay, now we see this here, and now...
But currently, still, Martin is on 14 life. He needs to deal 14 damage in the next 2 turns, so Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger will kill him. I'm not quite sure how we'll do this. Currently, he has only 6 power.
2 more turns, because he will have more than 40 cards in his library.
So he's going to only have 4 power now on board.
Yeah, Martin is targeting himself here, getting rid of that Ancient Stirring, which is a very nice play, because it's the only card here in the graveyards, because... The Lingering Souls got exiled by flashbacking it.
Yes, that's true. So we're going to see a Chromatic Star here.
And Ugin!
Okay, we are going to see an Ugin roughing the board, and this is the game.
Ugin -2, and if I was Crystals, I would definitely concede here, because he's not coming back from here. This is a situation where I feel safe conceding.
Yes.
And he's not. I would not attack with the Ulamog here simply because it just doesn't really matter.
Why?
Because of the creeping. Okay, you can. I just think you can keep the Ugin back one more. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Martin is on 14 life. What can Christo do to kill him?
It's true. It's
nothing.
True.
Really,
he
nothing.
can't just. Yeah, I mean, he can.
The ABZAN deck is not capable of killing in one turn.
Yeah, and you don't even
dealing 14 damage.
You
in one
don't
turn
even kill the
Ugin
Ugin with the Stirring Wildwood if you find a pass. So yeah, I agree with you here. You can't just attack. And we see a lot of cards being exiled here.
Just for your information, I think Stirring Wildwood is a 3/4 or
it's a 3/4. Yeah.
Yes, which can block flares.
Yeah, it's got reach. It's got reach. I've blocked a few spirit tokens that were unaware of it having reach, or their controllers were unaware of it having reach.
Ooh, really
it's a trap that some players fall into sometimes because it's just this land, it attacks for 3, but no, it can block flies. Stony Silence, way too late, the second copy. So we see Martin's choice of bringing in the Nature's Claim here paid off hugely. And I think I like his strategy because he's so far ahead in the matchup that he can afford to bring in some cards that do nothing at some times because they kill hate cards at other times.
Yes, so the game is over. Martin wins with 2-1. What do you think about this match?
Yeah, it is hugely in Tron's favor. Those matchups, the Tron matchup is the reason why those mid-range decks have a hard time rising to the very top of the meta game. If Tron is a big player, because you can't do anything. Sure, you can play 4 copies of Fulminators, you can play more surgical extractions, but it's always such an uphill battle. It's such an uphill battle. You need to find your hate cards. Your general strategy, your general strategic approach to the game is completely flawed against the Tron deck. The Tron deck just goes over the top so hard. It's just, basically what you do, it's like you want to fight. You want to fight with like a wooden carved sword against a nice, huge medieval, like two-handed
sharp sword
made out of metal.
Steel.
This is how this matchup feels like. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this was this match for today. Currently, you're just seeing both players putting back their sideboards. If you have any questions or want to comment anything, do it so below. We will be back with the next video shortly.
Yeah, see you next round.